This is a live stream, bud. We're live on the internet here as soon as this says online. And we are going. Alright. So let's just make sure before we get in depth with this bad boy. Alright, the internet can totally see us now. Alright. So, I'm Nostalgic Roe here. I'm with Fred, and we are here to talk about Star Wars The Force Awakening. We just got out of the first showing, well, not really the first showing, I mean the first public showing of Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. And yeah, Fred, what do you think? I mean, ultimately, let's just right out of the gate. Is this better than the prequels?
Oh, far better than the prequels. That was a very low bar to meet, and it easily met that and exceeded it.
Yeah, no, I mean, without a doubt, people are not going to be disappointed about this film in terms of,
oh no,
is it better than the prequels? Because yes, I mean, like you said, the bar was like here as far as, you know, the original trilogy's here, if I can get that in the screen, about right here, and the prequels are right here. I would say this hits it right in here. It's right in the middle.
I would agree. It's, you know, the prequels way bottom, original trilogy, and you know, this is a little over halfway.
Yeah, no.
To be fair, it doesn't quite reach the greatness of any of the original three movies.
Right.
And I'll just say now, maybe on a repeat viewing, we'll see it differently. I think going in, you have not knowing what this movie really is about at all, what it's going to be. You have a lot of high expectations, and yeah, you know what I mean. You kind of have something built up in your mind, and it's different than that. So I think maybe definitely on a repeat viewing, knowing what it is. I think it's a movie that'll definitely hold up on repeat viewings, and
yeah,
maybe grow.
Yeah, no,
a little bit more.
I agree with that. I think that, you know, coming into this, I guess to back up a little bit here, I was getting like at the first few trailers, I was like, this is awesome, this is amazing. I don't think it's going to let us down. And then I had to quickly pull myself away from those trailers though, because it spent so much time, you know, showing all these scenes, and like it just was, all of a sudden it was like TV trailer after TV trailer after TV trailer. I think the last count I saw was something along the lines of like 23, 24, you know, something like that as far as TV trailers. And I was starting to think like, oh man, they're gonna kill it off because you know, the excitement and the hype, and they're gonna show too many scenes because of all these trailers. So after like I think the second international trailer, I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not going to watch anymore. And so I cut myself off, and I think that was to my benefit.
Yeah, I stopped watching the trailers too after I think the international trailer, because I had seen enough of the movie, and I was afraid of getting some spoilers or starting to piece certain things together, or even start coming up with a plot line that, you know, ultimately wouldn't develop.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I think that's what, I mean, JJ, one thing that I thought was interesting is he spent a lot of time these last few weeks here talking about how he screwed up Star Trek.
Yeah.
And so, to some extent, it was kind of like, well, are you foreshadowing that you screwed this up? But I think, you know, maybe if I go back and watch all those TV trailers, I'll be like, okay, nothing was shown or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm happy that I didn't see anything, because for the most part then I came into this with a fresh, open mind.
Oh, of course.
And I think that's what was important about this movie, is that to come into it with that mentality, because early on, and we'll try to be as spoiler-free as possible here, but early on it did feel a lot like, you know, just, you know, a homage to the original trilogy. And let's just say, I mean, this isn't even really spoiler, but you don't even have to know the prequels. It's almost like the prequels don't exist for this movie, which is what they kind of talked about, and that's great.
Yes, you don't have to have watched any of those episodes to understand the plot or anything that's going on in this movie. Yeah.
So anyway, so with with all that going on, then as far as with the original movie or the original trilogy, in some ways I feel like this is a good fit with the original trilogy. Again, because I think that was the biggest problem with the prequels was that when you look back on it, do they fit? And it's just no, it doesn't.
No,
and that's where I think JJ did a great job with this film, at least capturing the universe.
Yeah, he captured the universe, he captured the spirit, and I think definitely having Lawrence Kasdan back to script, the dialogue certainly felt like it belonged. So the dialogue's a lot much better than the prequels. Don't worry. There's nothing about sand and being coarse and everything soft.
I won't say it's
not perfect.
It's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect.
It's not perfect. But
yeah.
But when you hear these characters speak, it feels like a Star Wars movie.
For the most part,
yes.
I agree. Like I'll say this: I think JJ'd it too much, in the sense that there's way too many times that the audience laughed, and that's something that Star Wars, is there laughs in it? Yeah, sure, there's laughs, but it was like almost every scene the audience was laughing, and it's like, why do we have to have that?
And it was, some of the laughs were fine, but some of the laughs were a lot of nudge wink.
Exactly, yeah.
It was a lot of little references, and those felt out of place because why would you bring up this event from the originals now? Yeah.
And that's with it too. I think like there's the characters, like a couple of the characters didn't really seem to have like the same personalities, or I take that back. They had similar personalities, but then like they're supposed to be completely different because there's one too many times of like, are you gonna talk? Oh, I'm gonna talk. No, you're gonna talk. No, I'm gonna talk. You know, there's like a few times where they did that, and it's just like, just shut up. Like, no, that's like one guy already did that. Like, you don't have to be that guy too.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like. I know you had to hear me sign in the movie throughout the entire movie because there's just so many moments of that I just kept on. It just kept pulling me out and kept reminding me that I'm not necessarily watching Star Wars. I'm watching a big blockbuster film.
And along with that, you know, I don't know where I was going with that, but well, what I was going to say is just because a lot of the references and things. You said it feels like a big blockbuster film, and a lot of those references, it almost feels like, you know, this is J.J. Abrams' big budget fan fiction film.
And I will say that about J.J. is that with Star Trek, I've made this comment before, is that with Star Trek, he wasn't a fanboy of the series.
Oh, no.
So therefore, he was able just to look at it and then just create his whole universe, and you know, we just kind of accepted that, like, this is the new take on Star Trek. Mm-hmm. Now, with Star Wars, he is a fanboy, and he understands the universe. There isn't really any questions about, you know, like, what's going on, what's going to be canon, you know, all that stuff. Oh, I mean, there's questions about canon, but, you know, it's not like, it's not like he's, like, rewriting, you know, the universe like he did with Star Trek. So there's things that, you know, you understood that he had to kind of acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think he did a great job, though, in terms of doing the fan service, but at the same time not getting in over his head and trying to rewrite everything. You know, and like trying to recreate this universe. He kept, like, as we kind of already mentioned, he kept it within that universe. It still feels like it works within Star Wars. You know, whether it's the old universe or the new universe that they're working on. I don't think he strayed too far off the path.
No, not at all. Not at all. This by no means was, you know, any sort of reboot. Or...
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I guess that's what I'm looking for. Is that this definitely doesn't feel like a reboot into Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And let's see here. Other things got to touch on. As far as the characters are concerned, you have Kylo Ren. Okay. Not to given too information because we're trying to keep this as, you know, as spoiler free as possible. But do you feel like he is a good bad guy?
I think he is. He certainly.
You're hesitating.
I'm hesitating because I want to avoid giving anything away. That's kind of hard in talking about him, but I certainly think he had a unique look. Mm-hmm. I liked the character voice. I think he's convincing as a villain, and mostly because he has some depth. This isn't like General Grievous or some character that's there's no character. There's no depth to it. He's just there to be a spectacle. Kylo Ren actually has some depth to this character and some struggle. I think very very interesting character.
Yeah, I mean he definitely has a struggle. And you know, as far as this isn't really giving it away, you know, like he definitely parallels Darth Vader.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, it's very clear that he's trying to be Darth Vader to some extent. As a whole, though, I felt that he was kind of weak in the sense that, like, but you know, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without spoiling anything. I didn't like. I guess my biggest problem with him was that how he would like express his emotion. If you understand what I'm saying, based on without trying to spoil too much there. To me, that didn't feel like a strong bad guy. That felt like a bad guy that was struggling with trying to figure out how he can be a tough guy. If that makes sense. If you understand what I'm referring to.
I do understand what you mean. I don't know. I want to say something, but I feel it's spoilery, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of expand a little bit, to some extent, I felt like he was almost like a spoiled brat.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I guess the best way to put it is that he kind of felt like a spoiled brat, but at the same time, like, he was threatening. Like, he did introduce a new force power. Yeah. I don't think that's really spoiling a lot.
No, I probably shouldn't say what it is, but and since you mentioned that, I thought that was a really... I think that what they did in introducing this new power was kind of an organic extension of an existing force power.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's like it's not new to the universe in the sense that like you could do this in video games and stuff.
Okay.
It's so that's where it's like so they kind of took some EU I guess or whatever expanded universe whatever Legends I think they call it now whatever. Sure. But apparently fried pizza here he never really liked Star Wars. Well, you will like Star Wars if you watch the original trilogy in this, then you'll like it. But anyway. Yeah, so as far as with this power, though, I thought that was really interesting. And then also, they expanded upon some of the powers that they had in the original trilogy with mind control and stuff like that. And so I thought that was great. And this is what we were talking about here. And again, this shouldn't really be too spoilery. But the original trilogy... What always appealed to me about it, and especially with the Force and everything, is that it never felt like it was some big superpower that they had.
Oh, yeah.
It was always a very like natural, organic. It gave you a slight edge, which people should be worried about, like the mind control.
Yes.
You know, being able to pull, lightsabers and stuff like that. But then when you got the prequels, all of a sudden you had all these superpowered Jedi. And, it was just like, how could anyone how could anyone beat a Jedi? Because they're so fast, they're so superpowered, they can stand there, and armies coming at them, and they can defend themselves with their lightsaber.
Yeah.
It just never made sense to me. And that's one of the big struggles that I have between the prequels and the original trilogy. This movie brings it back to the basics of that, yes, the Force is powerful, yes, the Force is real, but it's not this big, hulking superpower thing.
No, We're not turning our characters into all-powerful supermen.
Yeah. There's no like bouncing all over the place, and they're fighting at 3 times the speed.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say is the lightsaber fighting did not feel fake, and that's in the prequels too. Like that was my biggest gripe. Like perfect example, Episode 3 when Obi-Wan is fighting Grievous. You can tell the entire time that Ewan McGregor is just going like this.
Yes.
He's just going like this, and has no idea what he's swinging against. Whereas in this one, the big lightsaber fight at the end, which again won't give that away, but it felt very organic, and that it felt like that's how they would fight if they actually like locked up for the first time.
I agree.
So that's where that's one thing I will applaud JJ on is that he brought everything back in terms of what the Force meant to me as a fanboy. And it wasn't this big other hulking thing. Other things, Han Solo, Chewbacca. I don't know if that was the Han Solo and Chewbacca that we saw from the original trilogy.
You might be right about that. I guess I would feel that this Han Solo is closer to his original trilogy self than maybe what Chewie was. Chewie felt just very much kind of tagging along, kind of jokey.
Yeah, they were definitely a comedy duo.
They were. In the original trilogy, I don't think that they had their wisecracks, they had their joking, but this was getting to be a little much, and I guess I'll say again, Chewie feels a little out of place.
Yeah, he does. He does,
because he's really kind of filling the comedic sidekick role.
Right. No, I mean,
instead of kind of the enforcer.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Is that neither Han or Chewie, they felt like they belonged, but at the same time too, they were definitely like just comedy, and that's back to like JJ and his writing of that, like all these characters are constantly joking with each other, and it just didn't quite feel right. I see here, no, Star Wars is not good. Are you talking Episode VII? Which one are you talking about? I'd love to go in a little more detail on that if you could tell us.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like that's where it's like it was great to see them in the movie. And obviously had an important role in it, which is a no-brainer that they would. But at the same time too, like, could the movie worked without him? I think so. Without giving too much away, I think they could have.
It couldn't. If you change certain story elements, it could. This new trilogy could have completely functioned, probably without really any of our original series characters.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly glad they have them in there.
Yeah. And what do you feel about Leia and Han? Seeing them back together.
Are we going to get into spoiler?
Well, just without trying to spoil, just their on-screen chemistry.
I think it maybe felt a little off.
You thought it felt off?
I did a little bit. I guess I didn't quite feel the same magic from Empire and Jedi. I don't know. I didn't. It didn't quite feel the same to me. Yeah. And that may be in part to Carrie Fisher's performance. Not a bad performance, but Carrie Fisher's maybe not quite the strongest performer.
Yeah. No. Just going to another comment here, quick. Fun day. Extremely satisfied with the film. Great setup for the next. I agree. I do think it is a great setup.
100%. This. Yeah. It has its flaws, but I think it really lays the groundwork for what could be a really excellent sequel, and this one will be Rian Johnson.
Yeah, and Castian is writing it too. It's his last. It's the last one, if I'm remembering right. He's working on the Han Solo film.
Yes,
and then he's going to do Episode VIII, and that's it. Then he's done with Star Wars. So, and he didn't, if I remember right, he didn't really write this movie, right?
Caston?
Yeah, or did he?
He did.
He did.
He and JJ co-scripted together.
Okay.
With I guess some elements still remain from the Michael Arndt draft. Okay. I did see he got screenwriting credit.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember what that was. So.
But yeah, Kasdan and Abrams took over the duties on this one.
But yeah, so going back to Leia and Han, for me, I thought it was great to see them back together.
Oh yeah.
Me personally, I thought the chemistry was still there. I agree that Carrie Fisher's performance was kind of more just but I guess she wasn't really asked to do a whole lot.
No.
So it was good to see her. It was nice to see like 3PO and R2 back, even though they played minor roles, which I was happy with.
That's fine.
It wasn't like all of a sudden 3PO's there because Anakin built him. It felt natural that they're there.
Yes, certain things were more natural. I'm glad that they just didn't shoehorn all of these characters in and bring them to the forefront.
Well,
they did shoehorn in characters.
I was gonna say they did. I feel like R2 was shoehorned in a little bit.
He was. But they just not to the forefront.
Right. No, I mean that's where it's like it worked, but I felt that was a little cheap to an extent. So
yeah, R2's role I do have some gripes about.
Mm-hmm. Like what? Just that he wasn't in it enough, or how he was a convenient plot point.
I think a convenient plot point would probably be, and that's really not his fault.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not. So yeah, but no, I thought, I'm curious to see what they go with next with Leia and everything, because I mean, she's got to have a bigger role in the next movie because in this one she's only in there for a little bit, and I just feel like there has to be more. I almost just spit something out
and,
that I shouldn't have.
And you know, maybe one of my problems with her character in the movie is that they just didn't really give her much to work with. Because her part, with the exception of certain things, that could have been anybody.
Yeah.
In that role. It didn't feel quite like the Leia.
Yeah.
We remember.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's where it's like it didn't really feel like her either. So that's why I guess I see that to an extent. But as a whole, I mean, like, I didn't have much of a problem with her. Outside, her voice was really rough. I mean, you can tell that she's a party smoker. Yeah. You can tell that.
Hard living.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can tell that. I mean, and obviously that's well documented. So, you know, I'm not trying to make fun of her. Just, you know, she's definitely, like, vocally anyway, if you would hear her now and compare her to, you know, the original Star Wars, you'd be like, that's not her.
She could almost voice Darth Vader these days.
Yeah, exactly.
She's pretty close. She's got that rasp.
Speaking of that, let's go back to Kylo Ren.
Okay.
And his voice.
It felt a little like Bane.
I'm
going to say that. It felt a little like Bane, but it's a much better Bane.
Yeah.
It's the Bane you can understand.
See, and that's where the first scene that he talks, all of a sudden I was like, no, Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
Because his voice, like, it didn't feel like it was mixed correctly.
Yeah.
But then as it got going, then it felt better. But just that first scene, I don't know what it was, or maybe just because I wasn't quite ready to hear it, even though you kind of heard it in the trailers. But it didn't feel right, because that's what I remember with Dark Knight Rises, is in that opening scene where you hear Bane, you're like, what the heck?
That's who we are.
And it just didn't sound mixed right. So anyway, yeah, well, I guess I'm trying to think of the next point. Finn.
Yes.
What do you think of Finn's character? Because he's obviously the stormtrooper that's leaving the First Order.
As far as Finn, I think that's a character I want to see more of. I think they did a great job at setting up our new characters for this new trilogy. They feel like they really fit in with the universe.
Yeah, that's where, for me, Finn I found kind of annoying, to be honest. Because he's trying to be a good guy, but at the same time he's trying to run away. And I don't know. I didn't know if I wanted to be rooting for him, or like he felt uneven. What's that? Tyrant Hall. Did anyone die? Well, for the fact that we're trying to do this spoiler free, we can say that many stormtroopers and rebels died.
Yes,
Resistance.
That
Resistance. We can say that. I won't give away who else dies. But we can say stormtroopers and resistance die.
Yes.
But anyway, no. For me, Finn, like he was one of the guys that he just was too unstable for me. And the fact that like I wasn't quite sure what his agenda was, and I don't know if he ever figured it out.
I think in some respects, and actually I think there are two of the new characters who I think they tried to have fit the Han Solo role of the original.
Yeah.
Finn had some elements of Han Solo. I think Poe Dameron, who maybe
Poe was definitely trying to be Han Solo.
Poe, I'm sure we'll get into, but Poe also kind of felt a little bit like Han Solo, and I really like John Boyega's performance. I mean
I see. I loved him in was it Attack the Block?
Yeah.
Like that, I thought he was great in. So I was really excited to see him in this.
Yeah,
but,
I think he was. Was there a big battle at the end? Someone's asking.
No, they all shook hands and they said, "We're done."
It was very peaceful.
Yeah. Luke came in and was just like, "Guys, let's hold hands and kumbaya." It was Anyway, but yeah, no. I mean, I think his character can definitely grow, but I'm just not for sure where he needs to go, or what is his role in this outside of. I don't really want to give that away either, but
I'll agree with you on that point. Where does Finn go next?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
yeah. No, but going Poe, I'm a little disappointed we didn't see more of.
Poe is a character I would have liked to have seen more, because right away at the beginning he kind of had some characteristics of Han Solo. He is kind of this funny, cocky pilot. Maybe has a little bit better moral compass than what Han would have initially.
Yeah.
But and Oscar Isaac,
Yeah, I believe that's his name.
He pretty much good in anything you're going to watch him in.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I have no complaints with him. He's good in this. But you're right. We didn't see much of him, and maybe that's just kind of part of expanding the roles of some of our older characters.
Yeah, no, and I think part of that too is because they were trying to fit in, Han and Chewie and Leia and stuff, and so they just kind of wanted to use Poe just to introduce him, and not quite like a Wedge Antilles type where it's like he's always going to be there, but he's not that important. Like he's his role, I guess it'd probably be more like Lando. If you compare it for that, I mean, Lando, I guess, didn't have he had a bigger role in Return of the Jedi, but he still wasn't, like, mainstream. So I feel like Poe was kind of being introduced more as, like, how Lando was, where it's like he's there, he's interacting, and he makes a difference in the movie, but at the same time, like, we don't need to care about him a whole lot yet.
Now, minor segue, where was Lando in this? I don't want to, I'm sorry for anyone who's hoping Billy D. Williams...
Spoiler, come on! Yeah, no... But did we need him though?
No,
because we did see other characters.
We maybe didn't need Lando.
Yeah.
But as long as we're bringing up Lando, everyone else got to come back. Billy D. Williams has just got to be sitting at home.
Well, maybe he's still tending the bar with ladies, man.
He could be. He could be. Or maybe they have something greater planned.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I want to say more, but again, the spoiler.
I'm sorry. You mentioned Lando. I had to go. I had to go there. Lando's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So we can get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm just trying to think of any other major character. Well, I guess we haven't talked about Snoke.
We haven't talked about Snoke.
And to me, I did like how Snoke was in this film. He was a bad guy, obviously. You did see what he looked like, which was nothing compared to like what I had at least read about.
Yeah, I had.
And that I read a little bit about how he's supposed to look like this snake and everything, and I was like, this just sounds, too over the top.
I didn't even know that. I knew nothing other than Andy Serkis mocap performance.
Yeah, Andy. I mean, that's why it's like it was interesting. And I thought it was interesting because that. I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but he was hologram the entire time.
Yes.
So you didn't really see his true presence. Yes. And so that's what I think is curious is, how, we saw what he looks like, but at the same time, because of his hologram, he was like 100 foot tall.
Yes, he was rather large. And I don't think this is really much of a spoiler, but since you just mentioned, but before you realize he's a hologram, I was a little put off because he is like 100 feet tall.
Yeah, because
just there's a giant in this.
Right,
now?
Exactly. No, at first too, I was like, holy crap! Like, what is this? And then it's like, okay, he's a hologram. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So, but and that ties into. As I said, we don't think we went down this path yet. Go ahead.
Oh, can I say something about Snoke before we move on? I guess I felt that they leave. You don't get much on Snoke. Mm-hmm. He has a few scenes. You get the idea of who he is, but he's still really mysterious. Yeah. I think it's kind of like an Empire. Yep. When we meet the Emperor via hologram. Yep. For the first time, we know this is a bad guy. We know he's evil. But we don't know much about him. And then obviously we get that payoff in Jedi. Yep. And I would really assume that in the following movies we'll get a little more payoff on Snoke. Yeah. So they are saving some things for future use.
Yeah. And then I guess tying into that then, and this is where it's like, I don't think we really talked about a whole lot, but in a lot of ways this film does feel like, it was tying in all the other films, or it had the feeling of all the other films.
Yes.
And that's where it's like, they had the big bad guy that was a hologram, much like Emperor. Mm-hmm. They visited a forest planet, a desert planet, and an ice planet. So there's a lot of little things like that I don't know. Some people are going to say it's great. I was kind of back and forth of being turned on, turned off by it. It was cool on Jakku seeing like all the ships and stuff like that from the previous war. So
I guess one of my thoughts on Jakku, the desert planet, is it just felt like we want to go back and have Tatooine without calling it Tatooine.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shots that they had that was obviously calling back to Tatooine.
Oh, but very much so. I guess there just comes a point. Clearly, you want to do Tatooine without going completely copying the previous movies.
Yeah, you don't go full Tatooine though.
No, no, but a lot of it was reminiscent. And there are some other scenes. I'll leave those a mystery, but there's some other scenes that are definitely callbacks to the original trilogy, and I feel it was too much.
Yeah.
I think some homage, some callback is fine, but I think we discussed earlier. JJ doesn't quite go full Star Trek Into Darkness with his callbacks and homages.
He's close.
But he gets close. Thankfully, he didn't go too overboard. We didn't have any direct recreations.
We have to go 2 beers into this one. Yeah. No. No, I agree. He definitely teetered that line, and that's what we kind of talked about earlier, is that, does this feel full Star Wars? Yes and no. I feel like it's, like we already talked about, it is definitely, it felt more big blockbuster than it did Star Wars to me, but at the same time, it still fits the universe.
It does.
Yeah.
I guess as far as that goes, I guess I'm kind of glad maybe we won't be seeing JJ return.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. I may be a little concerned after seeing this if I knew JJ was coming back. I think that JJ has made a good start to this.
No, I agree. Yeah.
It's a nice solid start. And I hope I really like Rian Johnson as a filmmaker. I really enjoy his work. I'm kind of curious how that translates to a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But I'm really confident that maybe Rian Johnson will take what JJ has laid out and really take that to the next level, and maybe give us a little bit more of the Star Wars movie we're looking for. Because I personally I was looking for. I knew with the original trilogy characters being in it that it wouldn't quite be its own movie. But like we've said, I think that there was a little too much of the callbacks, so that made it even feel less like its own movie. But I really think that the Episode VIII will hopefully really feel like its own thing.
Yeah, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't even really covered Daisy yet, right?
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
Which is kind of an oversight. But with Daisy, it's hard to explain her too, and this is maybe the first why we didn't really get into it, is because it is kind of spoilerish, talking about her to some extent. But a lot of people are giving credit for Daisy being a really strong character.
Oh yeah,
and I think for the most part, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Wait, did you refer to her as Daisy as the character? Because it's Rey's the character.
Daisy.
It's Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley.
I was just getting confused.
Sorry, I might have been confusing names and stuff. Yeah.
He's had a little too much.
Only 2.
But yeah, Daisy Ridley's character Rey, no last name.
Yeah.
No last name given.
Yeah. Well, and it's Star Wars. You don't necessarily have to have a last name.
You don't.
Yeah.
It's curious though.
Yeah.
It's very curious.
Yeah. No. I think her character, as a whole, came back and forth. Don't mind my son. As a whole, it was kind of back and forth in terms of her storyline, where things are going with her. Very reminiscent of another character. But at the same time, where they left her off at, can she become a really strong character? Yes, I think she can. Oh
yeah, they left her in a very interesting place.
Yeah.
Very interesting place.
Yeah.
I liked her character. She's probably the most fleshed out of all of the new characters.
For sure. Well, she needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So she would be the most developed of all the new characters, and I would say a real highlight of the film. So
Now, as a whole, then, where do we compare this cast to the original trilogy? Because obviously the big appeal from the first movie was, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill all had this great relationship on set. Yes. And you could tell there's good chemistry there. Now, what about with these new people?
I don't think that we didn't quite get our new people, Kylo Ren excluded. our new characters would probably be Rey, Finn, and Poe. And I don't think there's really anywhere in the movie where all three characters are occupying the same space, and if they do, it's very little. So we didn't get to see how they all interact with each other. I liked Finn and Rey's interactions. I think Poe and Finn had some good chemistry, but I'm just trying to think if Poe really interacted with Rey very much, and I don't think he did.
Yeah, outside of just very briefly.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, this, that, oh, okay, and then that was it.
So I think if you want a comparison to the original cast, and I think we'll get there in the second movie. Finn, Rey, and Poe are clearly our Han, Luke, and Leia.
Yeah.
They're kind of filling that role, and I think the three will work really well together.
Yeah.
I think it helps that they're also
though not filling the role in the sense that you would think.
Yeah.
I will say that. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, definitely not. They're not playing the same.
Yeah.
Same characters or anything.
Yeah.
But that would be our commonality between those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess as a whole, to wrap it up here, I would say okay. So let's put it in as far as comparisons are concerned. Obviously, as I said in a previous video, worst movie is Episode 2.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and then it would probably for me be like Episode 1, Episode 3. Episode 5, which I know I'm gonna get shit for. Episode 6, Episode 4. So I would probably put this right in the middle, smack dab in the middle.
I probably would as well. I am curious to see how the movie holds up on repeat viewings. Mm-hmm. If it gets better, if it gets worse, if it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, because it didn't really hit Star Wars feeling until there's about 20 minutes left of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, now it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. However, I will disagree with you about putting Empire.
Well, that's a whole other
about putting Empire there, but a little off topic. When it comes to ranking the original trilogy movies, it's very easy to go Empire, Jedi, here, battling for first and second.
But I put the original at no.
I know it's just it's hard to rank those movies.
Yeah, it is.
There's so many things to love about every one of them.
Yeah,
and I guess I hope that we kind of have the same feeling in the future about this trilogy.
Yeah.
That it will be hard to pick out a favorite or to pinpoint a weak. Entry.
Well, actually, what I'm hoping for is that this is the weakest entry.
Oh,
That's what I'm hoping
agree.
for, because then because this it does the job. It's a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's still setting stuff up, and it's still, like I said, like it's too JJ.
Yeah.
So if we get a new director in who can eliminate too much of the jokiness, get it back to more of a serious path that the other ones were, I think it's right there.
I would agree with that point. I lost my point.
You agreed with the point and then you lost it.
No. I had another one. Now I know what it was. I think in a lot of ways this film would maybe be well, in a lot of ways it is similar to A New Hope.
Yeah.
But just in terms of A New Hope was our movie that just kind of established all the universe.
Yeah.
And we got this set up. It's a very good movie, a very solid movie. It's always going to be a classic, but I think that obviously fans after that point either flock to Empire or flock to Jedi because of how they fleshed out the ideas that were built in A New Hope, and I think that's going to be something similar for this upcoming trilogy.
Yeah. This
set things up. And now we can branch out in some really interesting places. Yeah,
no, for sure. I agree with that. So I guess as a whole, our recommendation is go see this movie.
Yeah, see it.
It's definitely, it's not perfect, but it definitely lives up to the hype. As most people say, it's better than the prequels, which that alone should at least get you off your butts into the theaters.
Yeah, definitely if you're a Star Wars fan, even if you're not a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you don't need to be a fan. You don't even honestly, you don't even really need to see the previous movies.
no.
Any of them.
I think it would hold up just fine. Bottom line, it's a good, solid popcorn movie.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that's, and then again, I guess that's part of the detriment to it, is that it is a good popcorn movie.
It maybe didn't quite achieve that greatness.
Yeah.
That I think we wanted for it.
Right.
But how could it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's got a big billing to live up to. This is a solid entry back into the world.
Yes.
You know, and it only sets it up for things to be better. Now, I'm still skeptical about the other movies coming out that aren't episode 8, 9.
Yeah,
the anthologies. But at this, I mean, if the anthologies are at least like this movie, they're at least going to be fun. You know, they're not going to be big billion-dollar movies or whatever, but they'll at least be fun.
Yeah, and well, as far as the anthology movies go, I think Rogue One will be a solid movie. I'm fingers crossed. Rogue One will be good. I think it's a good story. That's definitely a storyline I want to explore. But as far as the other ones, I'm not so certain about young Han Solo.
Yeah, young Han Solo. I can't remember what else they've talked about. There's been Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not as interested in following individual characters' backstories as...
At one point they're talking Yoda.
And what? You were going to span 900 years?
Exactly.
I mean, or are we going to make a, you know...
Exactly. I mean, that's where...
a trilogy of Yoda movies and...
Yeah, you could. I mean, that's where...
I don't
That's
know.
why I don't like the anthologies, because you can really do anything with them, and then you have to take them as canon.
Yes, I think the problem with the anthology movies is taking away too much of the mystery, which in some respects that's what the prequels did. They took away all of the mystery about the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Or a lot of it anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe if they would have done something better, if George Lucas would have wrote some better scripts that were more congruent.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd be a little bit better, but I am concerned about the anthology movies, but I am really excited for Rogue One.
Yeah, and I'm excited that George Lucas is no longer writing these films and has nothing to do with them, because I think that alone helped this movie greatly.
Oh, it did. It went back to I guess what made Empire and Jedi the classics that they are.
Yeah.
Lucas gave the story idea, Kasdan wrote it, and he had someone else direct it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he still kind of mucked up Return a little bit, but
yes.
As a whole, yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I guess wrapping this up here quick. We definitely recommend you guys go see this movie. I think you're going to enjoy it. Is it the perfect Star Wars film? No, that's still you up for debate on which of the original trilogy is truly the perfect Star Wars. But as far as the Force Awakens, it definitely brings a new hope to the trilogy.
I would agree, and I really think you'd be hard pressed to just despise this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people will. We have our trolls.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I really think you'd be pretty hard pressed to not find something that you like in this movie.
For sure. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. Please check out more of my work, nostalgicrow.com, or simply click on the other videos here. And thanks a lot. Hope for a thumbs up and comments more down below. Tune in next time as we got another review. I don't know. I guess I got a Christmas review coming up here in a little bit, a classic Christmas movie here next week. So.